Cool. Waiting for my page to load. Testing, testing, testing. All right. Everybody. I'll be right with you. I'm inviting a couple people I was asked to speak on this topic, and it's a big one for me. It used to trip me up a lot. This thing working? I love it so much. All right, I want to do a little bit of quick energy tune in real quick. Wherever you are in your day, scrolling, not scrolling, probably just waking up. Good morning. What I love to do when I wake up, before I even step 1 foot out of bed, is close my eyes, put on a big smile, and tune into my body. And I do a gratitude act of ramping up my vibration, tuning into every cell of my body, and giving thanks for the unconditional love that those trillions of cells have been serving me, doing nothing but unconditionally loving me in every moment, even while I'm asleep, while we're asleep, while we're not even paying attention, all throughout the day. It's incredible. Incredible. Love it. So the first thing I do is I tune in to my innate intelligence, all those trillions of cells. And I just give thanks, and I do it with my breath. And sometimes I do toning, where I can feel my entire body vibrating. I talk to every cell. I love you, my innate intelligence. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The women can relate to this. The guys might think it's a little bit silly or funny, but I'll tell you what, everything's frequency. And when you get every cell in your body vibrating from a place of love, look out, because it's affecting your hologram big time. So what I was asked to talk about, I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and it's about triggers, and it's about judgments, because judgment is clearly the biggest addiction on the planet. And it's been set up that way, really tricky. And I realized when I began to study with my mentor, my main mentor, Don Miguel Ruiz, who was the author of the 4 Agreements, the Master of Love, Beyond Fear, the Voice of Knowledge. And the deeper I got into it, I was doing pretty good, or I thought I was. And as I got deeper and went deeper down the rabbit hole, I realized that there was one thing that my ego still wanted to chew on, still wanted to grab on every time. And it was judgment, because the program is set up so that we have an ego, and we have an ego, part of the ego's job, so to speak, was to protect us. And so that's what it thinks it's doing. However, when we begin to become a conscious observer and we watch what triggers us, most of us will see that we get triggered into judgments. Why? Because we, or the ego, misidentifies who we are, which who we are is sovereign, divine, unlimited beings. But the ego gets triggered by anything that goes against our current belief system. And it is a system. It has nothing to do with really who we are as sovereign, divine beings. And I intend that I explain this correctly, so if you don't already get it, that the light bulb will go off. Because it's set up to just recycle and get triggered on every single thing that goes against your belief system. So that means, what is our belief system? Belief, and where did it come from? Belief systems were pretty much downloaded after we came out of the womb and we were able to process information and thoughts. However, vibrationally, we took on triggers before we were ever able to even process and realize that we had a belief system. So these bits of information, vibrationally or knowledge-wise through words, thoughts, or emotions, came from our parents, our grandparents, the systems of religion. For me, big time. I was in the Catholic religion for years, an altar boy. I was around nuns almost every day of the week, and they were not happy. And they were projecting tons of shame and guilt and judgment and fear. And you're going to hell if you even think about the opposite sex or whatever it was. There's a whole toolkit for making people give up their power. You're going to go to hell. There's going to be judgment day when you die. I mean, just massive stuff. And in second grade, I didn't even know what conscious awareness was or anything like that. But my intuition told me there was something really wrong. So fast forward to today. And there's a lot of talk about frequencies, energy, thoughts, and beliefs. So much of Waking Up in the Dream, the book that I downloaded and wrote, is based on being able to identify these triggers and these belief systems. Because if you can't, what we do is we just run the same cycles over and over and over and over. And I get a little energy on that one. I love it. And when you begin to see these programs, then you can dissolve them. And so in my book, I talk about the two different archetypes, which is basically the automatic reactor. And that setup is brilliant because the way that happens for us is anything that shows up that goes against our current belief system throws the ego into trigger mode, judgment mode, reaction mode. But when we become the conscious observer and we learn, trying to get that color out of my glasses so you can see my eyes. Good luck. Becoming the conscious observer is where our power lies. And it lies from the place of our heart and our higher self. So the ego gets triggered by anything that goes against our current belief system. And its job is to protect us. So it goes, it just reacts, it reacts, it reacts, and gets triggered over and over and over. As soon as we can become the conscious observer and we begin to track what these triggers feel like. So this is really key. Everybody knows what a huge trigger feels like. A huge trigger would be fear, shock, shame, unworthiness, somebody judging you, somebody calling you out in public. Really something where you can energetically just feel it, like just locking down your stomach or triggering you into fear, shame, guilt. But there's these really subtle triggers, just little judgments, self-judgments and judgments of other people. I wrote a whole chapter around judgment because it clearly is the biggest addiction on the planet. It's not drugs and alcohol. So when we can begin to track and feel these judgments in our body, we can automatically train ourselves to take a breath. Oh, I just felt that trigger, that judgment. Well, before we react and get ourselves into hot water, and I'm going to share with you why it's so important to catch it and take a breath, because that stops the trigger and the story from running and becoming a much bigger story. You know, some people have a trigger and they'll let it run for a day, an hour. You'll hear people say, I'm having a really bad day. That was because they didn't catch the trigger or the judgment when it happened. They're continuing to have a bad day because they didn't catch and stop the trigger and the judgment. So the way to do that is to tune yourself into beginning to become consciously aware of what a trigger feels like. And a judgment is a great place to start because they can be subtle. So we begin to catch the judgments or any triggers. And as soon as we realize it, we take a breath. And that stops the trigger from running. This is really key. This can stop decades and decades of automatic reactions and triggers. So we take that breath, we stop the story and the trigger from running the best we can. And then the third part of this equation is we ask. This is super empowering because what this does is this shows that you're accepting 100% ownership for your energy. And so the third part is asking, what is this trying to teach me? So key, so key. Yeah. And this stops the whole story and the whole trigger from running. So I intend that you find this very valuable because it changed my life. You know, I was a judgeaholic. I was a nice guy with a beautiful heart. I still am. You know, but the system was set up to create separation, and then we end up with a belief system. And then anything that goes against that until we have a certain level of awareness triggers us. It's a brilliant setup. And I was asked to share on this because it's really, really key. So here's the final part, and this is really super key, really super key. Thank you guys. I can't keep track of your comments and everything. I see a couple hearts popping up and I'm so grateful. I intend that you find this valuable because it really changed my life. So, and if anybody has any questions, reach out. I'll do another one, I'll clarify. And I'm gonna be doing a webinar coming up in probably a week, maybe 9 days. It's Thursday where I'm at right now. Almost rolling into Friday already. So the reason why this is so key is because all of our thoughts, all of our reactions, all of our words, triggers, and emotions are invisible, energetic waveforms. So these energetic thoughts, words, and emotions are like invisible magnets. So when we think them, say them, or project them with a higher level of emotion, we're actually magnetizing those waveforms. And those are the creating magnetic forces that create our external reality in this vibrating hologram, but they're magnetic, so they also attract more of what we're thinking, speaking, and vibrating. Vibrations up here are love, excitement, gratitude, kindness, but down here is judgment, fear, anger, unworthiness, shame, guilt. So when we can learn to begin to feel what a judgment feels like, what a fear feels like, what a trigger feels like, we can catch it and go, oh, I need to take a breath right now. Boom. What is this trying to teach me? And when you're willing to take 100% responsibility. And you don't beat yourself up. You high five yourself for catching it. You know, the people that come into the monthly Waking Up in the Dream groups, we track every judgment, every trigger, every less than thought, and we write them down at night on a tracking sheet that I created. And we keep track of the numbers. And the higher your number, the better you're actually doing, believe it or not. Because those are all judgments, triggers, less than thoughts that previously you would have never caught. So we start to mirror ourselves and catch this stuff. And I'm here to tell you that I play with people in these groups that are 5, 6 decades young, and they've been running these same programs for that many decades. And within as little as a couple weeks, by the second call, people are going, oh my God, I'm seeing that now. I never saw it before, because the ego is feeding off of it. It feeds off of it like it's food. So it just, once you see it, man, your whole entire reality and dream shifts. It's incredible. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this stuff. And that's why I wrote the book. I never planned on writing a book, ever, never. I was happy being a recording engineer, a guitar player guy. Still am. But this is some pretty life-changing stuff. And I'm grateful to my teacher, Don Miguel Ruiz, Barbara Emrys, many of the other Toltec teachers, and a lot of the other teachers that I've studied. And really, when you get to a certain level of awareness, you realize that everybody's your teacher, because everybody's your mirror, everybody's you, and your greatest teachers are the ones that can still trigger you into judgment. Okay, so here's the final part. Thank you for reminding me. So, if every judgment is basically a trap because it's a magnet that attracts more into our hologram of that which we judge, this was the biggest question for me and a huge aha moment. Then how do we handle people like pedophiles, illegal government people, people that are poisoning the food, air, water, the Hillary Clintons, the people that human trafficking? So how do we handle that? Because I used to judge them big time. Those were my big triggers. Great question. So here's how we handle it. We send them compassion and we forgive them until they can no longer trigger us. And these are the toughest ones, because we're here to expose a lot of things. We're walking in two different worlds. The world of higher dimensions, where we choose love and we choose to vibrate in only the frequencies of love, and we tune our body to those frequencies of love. But we also see in the hologram things that are still being healed. So our part, as I'm not big into labels, but the big terms now are light workers, star seeds, whatever you want to call it. I'm just an energetic being on whatever level I am in any given moment. And I stay focused on being in my heart. So every single thing that you judge, catch it. Because you can feel it, it feels sticky. You know why it feels sticky? Because it's a magnet and it's pulling towards you more. It's giving energy invisibly to the cabal, everything we judge, the Vatican, the priests that are human trafficking. Yeah, they're doing it. They worship the devil. It's going to be a big shock for people, you know. I figured it out a long time ago, but, you know, I'll still go to church with my mom on Christmas if I'm in town with her. It's just I see things differently now. And so I intend that you find this very valuable, because it's the energy of starting off with judgments, which is the biggest addiction on the planet. If you get this one and you begin to track it every day, it'll change every single thing in your life and every relationship. It doesn't matter if the other people in your relationships or families are still judging. Just by you shifting your frequency is going to shift everything in your hologram. It's massively huge. And if you'd really like to change your life in a huge, huge way, come jump in to the next waking up in the dream 30-day online transformational experience. It's massive. And not because I created it. It's just massive. I mean, yeah, I played a role in creating it, but I stand behind it 1,000%. And I walk the walk with everybody that comes in. But the book will dismantle decades of programming. But the mirroring on the 2-hour weekly calls is where people begin to see, oh my God, I didn't even realize I was doing that. And once an aha moment hits like that, you'll never forget it, ever. You might fall back into a trigger once in a while, but you'll start to clean up a lifetime of triggers in 30 days or less. I don't know of anything that works quicker or is more powerful. And this will eventually be shared and taught in schools, first grade, second grade, because tracking your energy is the most important thing you'll ever do. And I think the kids that are coming in now are advanced, but there's still going to be a lot of triggers out there until we clean all this stuff up. And so the kids will become the teachers. And I'm just here paying it forward. So much love to everybody that's out there, if you're out there. And thank you for everybody that shares these transmissions. And thanks for everybody that hung on there this long. I know this is a long time to hang on, but I'll tell you what, it sure is valuable. And just sending lots of love and gratitude. So if anybody's still here watching the replay, here's something that's really valuable to do. Every morning I do this, and it sets the tone for my entire day. And since I started doing this, my life is completely different. And here's what it is. Not just so much the toning, but as soon as I awaken from this, what we call the sleeping dream, and I open my eyes, I still have my head on the pillow. Yeah, my head's on the pillow, and I've trained myself to immediately go into gratitude and drop a smile on. And then I start talking to my innate intelligence, every one of those trillions of cells that is unconditionally loving me and serving me while I'm asleep and while we're alive, from the time we're in the birth in the womb until we go on to the next dream. So right now, have an opportunity to close your eyes, tune in to these frequencies, and you try not to make it too loud. And thank every single cell in your body. Because I'll tell you what, I hear people talk about unconditional love. Our innate intelligence, these cells in our body, are the epitome of what unconditional love is. Because they do nothing. They only have one mission, and that is to unconditionally love you and serve you in your body as long as you are here. And when you really think about that on a deeper level, maybe take some time to rewatch this, you could be humbled to tears because it is that powerful. The love of the universe. And the love of the universe is, I'll get going, shown to you by your innate intelligence. All those cells in your body. Oh my God. Really, that'll teach you what unconditional love is. I love it. So enjoy your day, evening, wherever you are. Tune into your frequencies. Start to track your judgments, triggers. Take a breath. Stop them from running the story. And ask, what is this trying to show me about me? It's not about anybody out there in the hologram. It's about you. And bless everyone that your mind sees as doing wrong out there. Bless them, have compassion, and forgive them, and thank them for playing their role in this hologram, for clearing all of this for everybody. Because if we've been here in different lifetimes, we've all probably been the murderer, the rapist, the thief, the cabal, whatever you want to call it. So it cleans your energy field like quick, and it cleans the energy field of the collective. So the quicker we all get on board on this forgiveness thing and start clearing our judgments, the quicker the New Earth hologram is going to flip and shift. And it's happening right now. Much love. Enjoy your day. I love it.